Episode 71B, Murphy's Comedy Club. This is Murphy's Comedy Club, virtually located in Southie. Where else? I'm stealing Ronald Reagan's introduction for his many jokes. Did you hear the one about the lost CIA agent? So the CIA lost the track of its operative in Ireland. They sent their new Harvard graduate agent, Cabot Hutchinson, to Ireland. He flies to Dublin, rents a car, and drives to Cork City. His orders are, all I can tell you is that his name is Murphy and that he's somewhere in Ireland. If you think you've located him, repeat these code words. The weather forecast calls for mist in the morning. If it's really him, he'll answer, yes, and for a mist at noon as well. So Agent Hutchinson stops at the Curragh pub in Cork. He says to the publican, maybe you can help me. I'm looking for Murphy. The publican replies, okay, Yank, you're going to have to be more specific because around here there are lots of Murphys. There's Murphy the baker, who runs the pastry shop on the next block. There's Murphy the banker, who's the president of our local savings bank. There's Father Murphy the pastor, and there's Murphy the postmaster. And as a matter of fact, I'm a Murphy too. Hearing this, Hutchinson figures he might as well try the code words on Murphy the publican. So he says, the weather forecast calls for a mist in the morning. The bartender replies, oh, of course. You're looking for Murphy the spy. He lives right down on Finbar Street. And have you heard the one about Paddy Murphy, friend O'Brien's last request? Paddy Murphy and Sean O'Brien grew up together and were lifelong friends, but alas, Sean developed cancer and is dying. While on his deathbed, Sean phoned his pal Paddy Murphy. Murphy, come over here. I have a request for you. Paddy goes to his friend's bedside and kneels down. Sean says, Paddy, old boy, we've been friends all our lives, and now I'm leaving the old sod forever. I have one last request for you to do. Murphy bursts into tears. Sean, anything you wish. It's done. So Sean says, well, under me bed is a box containing a bottle of the finest whiskey in all of Ireland. Bottled the year I was born. It was. After I die and they plant me in the ground, I want you to pour that fine whiskey over me grave so it might soak into me bones and I'll be able to enjoy it for all eternity. Murphy was overcome by the beauty and the true Irish spirit of his friend's request, and he asked, aye, 'tis a fine thing you ask of me, and I will pour the whiskey, but Sean, might I strain it through me kidneys first? How about the one about Paddy Murphy and the mermaid trainer? A 65-year-old Paddy Murphy, losing a bar fight to a group of young punks, keeps yelling, my son will kick the shit out of you, he says. He's a mermaid trainer. Everyone in the bar laughs as he limps out of the bar. The next day, in the same bar, Paddy Jr. and 4 other tough guys come in and beat the shit out of all the guys who beat up his father. Paddy, watching the beating, says mockingly, see, I told you my son is a mermaid trainer. Paddy Jr. says quietly to his father, how many times do I have to tell you that? It's seals, not mermaids. Have you heard the one about Paddy Murphy and Wellesley town worker efficiency? A Wellesley taxpayer observes 2 town DPW workers in a local park. One worker digs a hole, moves a few yards, then digs another hole, and so on. Meanwhile, the second worker promptly fills in all the holes the first worker just dug. The taxpayer gets angry and he approaches him and says, I'm going to complain to the town manager. The absurdity. You're just digging holes and then immediately filling them back in. It's disgraceful. Hold on, one of the workers responds. It's not our fault that Paddy Murphy's sick today. Who's Paddy Murphy? Asks the taxpayer. He's the guy who plants the trees, says the reply. And how about Paddy Murphy in the Ukraine? Volunteering as soldiers for the Ukraine, a Mexican, a German, and Paddy Murphy are taken prisoner by the Russians. Their punishment is a prisoner of war camp with a flogging first. So the Mexican goes first, and the Russian military jailers ask if there is anything that he would like to put on his back to help endure the pain. He says olive oil. So they rub olive oil all on his back. The whipping is brutal and painful. He collapses and they drag him out. The German is next. and ask what he wants on his back. He says, 9. So they whip him just as brutally, but he doesn't flinch. The jailers drag him out. So they ask Paddy Murphy what he wants on his back. He says, the German. And have you heard the one about Paddy Murphy and drunk driving? A drunk Paddy Murphy gets stopped by the Gardaí in Cork. He's taking a required breathalyzer test when another driver starts causing a ruckus nearby. The cops all go over to the other car. Murphy sees an opportunity and drives away into the night. The next morning, Gardaí cops wake him up, pounding on his door at home. He opens the door, and the Gardaí sergeant says, you were drunk last night and drove off before we could test you. Murphy says, you can't prove I was drunk, can you? The sergeant says, we know you were smashed, but we will let it go if you just give us back our patrol car. And how about Nora and Paddy Murphy? Have you heard that one? Nora Murphy from County Cork was asked how she lost her husband Paddy of 50 years. She told her sad story. He needed a blood transfusion, but his blood type was not on record, so the doctors asked me if I knew what it was, as they urgently needed to know in order to save Paddy's life. Tragically, I've never known his blood type, so I only had time to sit and say goodbye. I'll never forget how supportive my Paddy was. Even as he was fading away, he kept whispering to me, be positive, be positive. That was how my Paddy was, always thinking of others. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and or refer a friend who might be interested in this Old Boston podcast series. Again, my thanks.